Today I want to talk about the ways that SOLIDWORKS Electrical makes updating schematics easier. Most of the time we focus on how easily we're able to create the initial design, things like this schematic here. We focus on how we're able to make this initial design and document the project more efficiently than using traditional CAD tools. But there are times where after you have created all this documentation, we've got our schematic, we have a bill of materials, we've got things in 3D, we've got our cabinet layout, all that stuff already completed, and someone decides that we need to make a change. Whether that's pre-release or post-release, the intelligence that we have in SOLIDWORKS Electrical eliminates the errors that can arise. So what are some things that may require a change? Well, one of the things is, say, like this relay that's controlling the motor here. Maybe the part that we're going to use went obsolete, so we can't buy it anymore. Or we decided that we need one that can handle more current because we're going to also update the motor to be a bigger motor. Or maybe we have some extra circuits on this that it's making the electrical panel too crowded. We're not using them, so we're going to switch them out for a relay that has less circuits in it, less contacts. That way we have a smaller footprint. And, whatever the reason, we need to change this relay. Maybe also someone wants to add some things to the system that's going to add a page in our schematic. Right now we have page 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's say we want to add in a new page right there in between page 4 and 5. That's a lot of things that are going to have to get updated. All the page numbers, all the references to wire numbers, page-to-page connections, all of those. Let's see, something else that could cause a change. Maybe we're going to add a clip-on component onto one of these relays so that we can actually add more circuits. Well, first let's take a look at that first instance where I said that we want to change out the relay that we're using here. In order to do this traditionally, all we would do is change like the text here, right? We would just change this to be a different number. Well, there's also maybe the terminals are labeled differently on that new one, on that new relay. Plus, there's also changing the text over on the relay coil that controls it. Over here, right? And then we've got the cross references over here that need to get updated. Then we also have our bill of materials needs to get updated. So many different places that would need to get updated if we were doing this all manually. So how do we handle it in SOLIDWORKS Electrical? Well, one of the things we could do is just change each relay individually. I'll just go into the properties for it and say that rather than using this relay here, we're going to look for a different one. And we're using the LC1D. There we go. And we're going to use this relay instead. All right, so the text changed there. There was no text that really needed to get changed over here in this case, but also on our line diagram where we represent that, it also changed. So we used to use all the LC1D 2500s. Now we're using LC1D 1210 for this relay. What about our bill of materials? Over here you can see where it hasn't changed yet. So we're just going to right-click on the bill of materials and update our report. And now we have, there we go, K2, the new LC1D 1210, and everything else, the other ones remained, but they got pushed to the second page because there wasn't enough room. So you can see how this kind of stuff happens very quickly and easily. This would have taken a lot of time if I was trying to do this manually. Now, that was one relay. We still got 3 other ones. Let's say that we weren't just going to replace the one. We're replacing all of our relays with this new one. I don't want to go through and edit every single one of those. So we're going to use this command here on the process tab that says replace data. This is a little wizard that we're going to go through. And what are some of the things that we're going to change? We're not going to do anything with the title blocks, symbols, and everything. Just mess with the manufacturer parts. And here's all the manufacturer parts that we've got in our project. But let's see. So we're going to find the Schneider Electric 2500. And the reference that we're going to replace it with, let's just double click here. Let's go change our filters a little bit. And we're going to replace it with this one here. And check the checkbox. Okay, there's the checkbox. So we have a red X over here. And if I double click on it, it's just kind of warning me that there's this incompatibility because the number of circuits are different. The difference is that this one, the one that we had in here, originally only had the power contacts. The new one has those 3 power contacts, and it also has an additional contact that we could use. And so since there's this extra one, it's just kind of warning me this is not an exact match. But that's okay. I'm okay with that. So let's go ahead and do this. So now we can see that this other one here has changed to the LCD1D12. All of our cross references over here have automatically been updated to include these extra contacts that we're not using. The blue is indicating that it's not shown in our schematic anywhere. Our line diagrams have all been updated to LC1D1210. Let's go ahead and update our bill of materials. Let's go back to page 1, and now we can see all 4 of our relays are now the LC1D1210. So you can see the benefit of being able to quickly change what manufacturer part you're going to use in your schematic. So what about that second situation where we're adding something to our system? It's going to require another page. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to use a project macro real quick to add that extra page because the focus of this webinar is not on how to draw schematics, so I'll just add something. And this project macros is a great way to reuse designs that are common in your projects. So if you are not familiar with them, that's something that would be really good to look into. So let's just make sure we get a good title block in here. There we go. So we have our page with our things that we're adding into our system. But we want to put this before page 5. So we'll just drag this up here. And this is page 13. Obviously, you wouldn't want to have things numbered. Page 4, 13, 5, 6, 7. So I would want this new one to be page 5, and then the following ones to be 6, 7, and so on. So traditionally, this was a lot of work. A lot of companies have now adopted a standard of doing page numbers by 3. So page 1, 3, 5, 7, so that they could easily add a page between them later on without causing a lot of editing. Because what are some of the things that we would have to edit manually if we didn't have the intelligence? Well, it's not just the page number, but also things like here on page 5, we have page-to-page connections showing that the destination arrow is on page 6. Well, now it's going to be on page 7, so we'd have to edit the text here. We'd have to edit the destination arrow to say that the origin is now on page 6 instead of page 5. I'm having a hard time just trying to keep all this in my brain, so you can imagine how difficult or how easily it would be to end up with errors and forget something. And I have many types of these symbols in my project, so especially as you get into a large number of pages, this just gets very, very tedious. So what happens in SOLIDWORKS Electrical? What I'm going to do is update my, renumber my page drawings. And I'm actually going to do something so that it will, right now I've got the first page as page 0, so I'm going to make it so it starts on page 1. So we're going to update things even more because not only are these page-to-page connections needing to get updated, which just did, this is now on page 8, but if I went to page 8, you can see the page numbers that show up on the relay contacts have also been updated, showing that they're on page 5. Oops. These are on page 5. The cross-reference here show that you can see them on page, the parent symbol on page 8. So you can see all these places where the page numbers have been updated, all the cross-references. So I don't have to be afraid of renumbering my page drawings. Some companies have standards that may still make this undesirable, such as if you number all of your components based on the page that they're on, you wouldn't want to change your page numbers all the time, especially if you have already built the system and you've got labels on all your components in your panel. You don't want to have someone have to reprint those labels and go update those labels all the time. So in that case, you may still want to have a standard of numbering your pages by 3, which is totally doable. And then you could insert this new page and go to the properties and make it a manual page number so that it doesn't follow your formula of numbering by 3. And you could, still follow that standard that maybe you've been following for a long time. So this isn't forcing you to do things a certain way, but it's nice to know that much of the downstream editing is no longer a manual process, regardless of the standards that you use. So I hope that I've been able to show you how much easier it is to update your schematics after you've already gone through a lot of your design process and you want to make a change. Due to the time limitation, I'm not going to go into the many other ways that you may need to update your schematic, but if you are interested in learning some more about SOLIDWORKS Electrical, feel free to give us a call, and we can definitely contact you to set up a time to look at this program more in depth. Thank you.